Sei Fujii was a Japanese American. Following the Second World War, Japanese people were excluded from obtaining citizenship of the United States. Californian land laws said that if someone was not a citizen or eligible to become a citizen, they could only own land in California if there was a treaty between their country and the United States providing for such ownership. There was no such treaty with Japan, and so Mr. Fujii's land was confiscated and became property of the state. He appealed to the Californian Supreme Court. One basis of his appeal was that the Californian law was contrary to the Charter of the United Nations, and specifically the reference in Article 55 to human rights and fundamental freedoms for all, without distinction as to race, sex, language, or religion. Now, the Constitution of the United States says all treaties made or which shall be made under the authority of the United States shall be the supreme law of the land. So, did the Californian law breach the supreme law of the land? The court said no. The court maintained the distinction between self-executing treaties, which immediately provide individual people with rights, and non-self-executing treaties, where nations are essentially promising that they will pass laws to implement that treaty. The doctrine says that non-self-executing treaties cannot be the supreme law of the land because they are not law, merely a promise to make a law. In practice, distinguishing between the two is often very difficult. The court said, in determining whether a treaty is self-executing, courts look to the intent of the signatory parties as manifested by the language of the instrument. And if the instrument is uncertain, recourse may be had to the circumstances surrounding its execution. In order for a treaty provision to be operative without the aid of implementing legislation and to have the force and effect of a statute, it must appear that the framers of the treaty intended to prescribe a rule that, standing alone, would be enforceable in the courts. The court found that the Charter of the United Nations was set out in aspirational terms, noting the objectives of nations informing the UN. The UN Charter could not be considered self-executing. Happily, however, the court found that the Californian law violated constitutional protections against discrimination, and Mr. Fujii got to keep his land.